All right. What's the orange for today? I'm curious.
Just orange.
Okay.
What was there in the closet? Just grabbed it.
All right. Good.
He did iron Jesus.
I didn't put a lot of thought in.
Thought it looked good next to purple. You can always count on Clarence wearing
It's
purple.
clash.
right.
David Moore, Dallas Morning News. No attendance question at the moment, but when your season ended in such an uncharacteristic way for how you'd played up to that point and even building up to that, is that, I know you do your messages going into the next season, but is that any sort of motivational aspect to what you've been doing this off season, or is that something you reserve? Is off season just fundamentals and break it down and we'll go from there?
Yeah, definitely. I think the reality of it is, spoke on the last game a little bit at the beginning of the offseason program, but, those lessons are best served to revisit in training camp and as you get ready for the season. Our time is so limited on how much we get with the players. We really focus on. You're probably tired of hearing about it, but we do really focus on getting the veterans through all the concept teach year, phase 1 and 2, so they're exposed to everything conceptually, and then really get it connected with the rookies. And just no different. Like today's the last practice. Is install 8, 7, and 8 are really, they're like a game plan. So there's not a whole lot of flow to it because we're doing red zone, goal line, and all those things. And I thought that historically 7 for the rookie class was always pretty tough. And I thought they did a hell of a job yesterday. And like I told them this morning, I said we're going to throw one more fastball at you and see what you got. So that's really what this is about. So for us to come off the field today, to have that volume of offense, defense, and special teams in and have them connected, that's the goal, and I feel confident we'll achieve it at the end of the day.
So the motivational or shared goal, that's really from training camp going forward. This is more just break it all down, do what you need to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's all timing of when you want to hit those things. We have a segment in every team meeting starting the training camp. It's the anatomy of the 2-minute, the anatomy of the 4-minute, anatomy of end of game. Complementary football formula is a big part of who we are, and that's a great example of who you are through 17 games, and then the play like perform the way we did in a playoff game. So yes, I think the statement of uncharacteristic is right on point because we. Statistically, mathematics would clearly indicate that we're top 3 or 4, complementary football team in the league last year from a production standpoint. And that's, at the end of the day, I think every coach, you want your team to play to their identity and play to their strengths and do the, put your best foot forward in playoff football. And we definitely did not accomplish that last year.
Clarence Hill for Star Telegraph. A couple of things. First, why use just 2 days of practice? Why not use a third day? What's the premise behind that?
Well, the efficiency of the training regimen conducted by this coaching staff is exemplary, Clarence, okay? No, I think it's – well, we have other things we're focused on. We got other things that we're focused on, outside of scheme. So that's where the other time is going.
And secondly, Zach remarked yesterday that he didn't – after his holdout, he didn't play his best football last year. Do you see that, and is that normally what happens when guys hold out? They don't really have their best year. How do you?
I don't know if it's normal. That's probably a great study for Gelkin to do. I think it's something. But no, I think that it's like anything. When I look at Zach's situation, I think it's really the combination of the line playing together. We didn't have a lot of snaps with those guys playing together, and you can't make the point that the padded work, whether it's how many, is it 10, 11 padded practices, you miss that as an offensive lineman. That's really the only chance you have to train from the end of the past season. So yeah, I think there's some things there you can tie together.
Mike Toddarch with ESPN. Were the O2X guys in yesterday to talk to you guys?
Yeah, they're here. They're here for the whole mini camp. So that's part of the time that we're spending. That's part of the reason why we're practicing twice.
What do you get out of bringing those guys in to talk to the guys? What's the message that they're sharing?
Well, not to get ahead of ourselves here, because we're gonna be with them again today and tomorrow. But been super impressed with this organization. It's an organization of human performance. Just shared experiences alone, of the staff that they brought in here is just it's incredible. But most importantly, to see our players and coaches connect with them. So it's been very educational, and I think it's definitely something that we'll look to apply to our operation. And I think, like anything, when you are exposed and have the opportunity to be educated and have this type of experience, the maintenance and how you move forward is key. So they've been very, very impressive.
And then, have you entered a season with maybe as much uncertainty as there seems going forward?
Which way?
You have some changes on the offensive line and running game. Obviously, the coaches and Dak and all these guys, contract statuses and things that. Does that ever pain?
I think you can throw the contract part. I think to the side. Those conversations. And it wasn't easy. I mean, no one wants to be on a 1-year contract. We all understand that, and the emotion of what that does to your family and so forth. But once we got past the combine, I think once you get things set, there's a job to do. So there hasn't been any blink, and no different than, using Dak as an example. I think Dak's having his best offseason program that we've had, and he hasn't. He's had really good offseason programs the whole time. So I think this atmosphere that we practice in, the receivers and the quarterback have really hit the mark. I'm very, very impressed with the quality of work, because really most of the other positions really can't go full speed in most of the things that they do. But I think the offensive perimeter group and the quarterbacks have really excelled through this offseason program. I think we definitely have taken a step.
John Machota with The Athletic. Is there anything noticeable to you when you have Micah Parsons in the building and out on the practice field yesterday? Did anything stand out about having him out there?
Well, I think number one, did you watch practice? Yeah, he looked good. I thought he looked pretty good out there. So, yeah, he's a different player. He's a different athlete. So, just watching some in the walkthrough before I came in here. So just the ability to move him around. He's a weapon. So yeah, definitely it's different when he's here.
And then 2 years ago, you guys used 4th-round pick on Jake Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously has improved since. What has impressed you most since that day of you guys taking him?
Consistency and his passion and energy, but just really his growth as a football player. We talked a little bit about his weight yesterday. So I think he's done an outstanding job in the strength and conditioning phase of it, and he's having a great offseason. Very, very comfortable with the little things that we've asked him to do on top of what he did last year.
Nick
Harris, DallasCowboys.com. During this transition period for the offensive line, how important is it having a guy like Zach Martin up there to just be able to help things on and off the field?
Super. So beneficial. Zach is, he's like E.F. Hutton. If you're probably too young to remember the commercial, but it's, when he speaks, everybody listens. So, yeah, he's awesome. As a teammate, he's always, when called upon, always has really, really good input. So, yeah, it's great. He's been here the whole time. We've obviously been very smart with him physically, but what he brings to the table with his experience level is we're very fortunate to have him.
And then at this stage, for these rookie offensive linemen, what's kind of the instruction period that they're going through at this point before training camp?
Instruction phase?
Yes.
Install 8. No, it's just, the biggest thing is, really getting the scheme and the fundamentals. I think just like anything, every year you have to teach your team how to practice. And CBA practice is a different practice. So I think they're getting everything at the rate of speed and timing that fits this training regiment, and but they're understanding. I've been very impressed with the young guys. They've picked it up very well. We're way ahead of the game as far as what we do. Offense on offense, protection wise, we're clearly way ahead of where we were this time last year. And then what a great experience for our guys to now practice against Mike Zimmer pressure defense. So they've been getting all the tough overload pressure looks and things like that. So I think those guys have done a really nice job.
Garrett
Podell, CBS Sports. Micah Parsons said yesterday that you and him had met for about an hour, and that after Dan Quinn's departure, you're kind of his personal go-to on the coaching staff. What's that been like? What's that been like this offseason? Like feeling that kind of just interpersonal relationship void, I guess, for him with Dan gone. He said that your relationship's really grown this offseason.
Well, I mean, you're a young man in this profession. I think it's like anything. The more you can do, the maybe the longer they'll keep you around. So, I think it's just another hat to wear. But no, I'm trying to. It's a bad joke. But yeah, I just think, as anything. I mean, I enjoy those conversations with all of our guys. So I do, put a lot of substance into the one-on-one conversations because I think you go deeper and talk about things and and coaching today's athlete. It's this is my third decade coaching in this league, and it's definitely different than the '90s. So the ability to communicate and collaborate. I mean, those are all very important practices that you have to have not only with your players but your coaching staff. So yeah, no. Mike is a big personality. He brings a lot to the table, so I definitely enjoy a relationship.
Michael Gelkin, Dallas Morning News. You said earlier that Dak is having the best offseason he's had. How so?
I just think it's like anything with a quarterback when the connection in the perimeter realm, because that's we're really has been the majority of our our physical activity. The connections is better. I think the younger receivers are playing with more urgency. They're getting more reps. The timings is better. But the real test will be when we get to training camp. When we're challenged every snap on our releases, when we're challenged at the breaking points, but I think what we've set out to accomplish, we definitely hit the target. In the passing game as far as the quarterback and the offensive perimeter.
And last August, not to bring this up, but you lost 3 rookies to ACL in a 5-day span. That group seems to really just gel together, those 3 guys. And how have you seen just that interpersonal dynamic of them going through the experience together elevate their rehab?
I'll tell you what, I don't recall ever having a personnel meeting where we talk so glowingly about guys coming back from rehab, because it's been impressive to watch those 3 young men. I mean, they've been in there every day together. They're in the irony of 3 left knee ACLs, and so the rehab is pretty much the same. But I think it's helped each and every one of them because they push each other and they look great. I mean, we're obviously adhering to the timeline of return to play, and I think Britt Brown does an incredible job with that. So, but yeah, I mean, you could really write a book on the way they went through it. I mean, so whatever ahead of schedule exactly means in detail, those 3 guys definitely accomplished that all the way through. So they look great. So we're all excited to not only what they showed last year in training camp, but also excited to see what they've done since then, because I think all 3 of those guys got a chance.
Saad, The Athletic. Mike, you've talked before about Jaylen Tolbert's preparation, his note-taking, things like that. In that department specifically, how did you kind of see him when he came in and where he is now and how he prepares in that?
Definitely. I mean, that's a starting point. I mean, we talk about education, application, and evaluation. I mean, the education process is, how do you attain information? And we're all different. Some people, they thrive and walk through. Some guys are visually with a pen and paper. I'm still old school with the yellow tablet. We do a lot of video, but he arrived here with very, very good very good skill set there. Note taking and so forth. But as we all know, it's the application of it. So now how do you apply it to the field? And I think he's taking a step each year, with that. And very coachable young man, and I think that's part of the evaluation process that he excels in. And I think all that tied together is, the final step is the confidence, and that comes with with reps and success and failures too, because you can learn from it. So, yeah, it's been really cool to watch JT continue to grow.
Since Kellen left last year, we've kind of all.
Since what?
Since Kellen left last year, we've kind of all said that this is kind of your offense. With that being said, like, what role has Brian Schottenheimer played? How has he helped you in implementing, the system and everything like that?
It's interesting. We've been talking a lot about meetings and how it used to be and this and that, and obviously Brian and I go way back. But I think the most important point in the reality of it. It's, it is our offense, so obviously the play caller has to, control, what's ultimately in, because, it's common sense. If it's not that way, you're not truly going to believe in it, and it's probably not going to make it to the call sheet. So, but I think Brian Schottenheimer is an incredible football coach. His connection with our players is extremely strong. But I think both of we've done a really good job of really giving the other coaches opportunities to grow. If you go to an offensive meeting and where like the old days, the coordinator put in everything. I mean, he talked. I could remember. As an assistant coach, the coordinator would talk, and the only really meeting time that I would get as a quarterback coach would be before the team meeting. So you were going 100 mile an hour, trying to get done what you got done because the coordinators used most of the time, and then in Kansas City, once you get to the practice field, the players would be stretching. Well, Marty had a role you weren't allowed to talk to the players during stretch, and we were all over to try to sneak next to our players and try to coach them. Without Marty seeing you talking to your guy, and I could always remember Tim Grunhard, just a character of a guy, a great player there as a center, and he'd be like, "Hey Marty, I'm trying to stretch," and when you see everybody running because Marty get in, he'd rip your ass in a heartbeat. So, but how it's changed, and I think there's so many positive things that come out of that because you get to see your young coaches develop. They get to stand in front of the whole offense, and I think with that, just our experience together of how it used to be and how can we make it better. I think he's done a great job in the coordinator role.
Nicole.
Nicole Etchison, Dallas Cowboys Media. This will be year 3 for Wanye Thomas. How big of a jump do you feel like he can make this year, and what have you seen from him?
I thought he made a big jump last year. I think just like any, he's been dynamic on special teams, and then I think just like what you really want, particularly this time of year, is you get to see the young players in a different light. And Wanye just has so much personality. He just has such a bright light. And then when he was given an opportunity at safety, he stepped up. So Wanye is clearly a great example of a young player that's really excelled with every opportunity he's been given. So, yeah, definitely. It'd be awesome to see him take another step. But, God, just what an awesome, man. He always has a smile on his face, always has great energy, and and he plays that way, and people attract him that way too. So he has a great light.
Tom.
Mike, on the ACL guys, Diggs is one of those guys who's a little bit after those 3. Where is he in his recovery, and
he's
does he have
really,
a possibility to be ready for the open part of camp?
We'll respect the timeline, but Trayvon looks great. He's once again he goes a little later in the day than the other 3, but Al and Britt, he's in a good spot. I just talked to him a little bit there Monday during the physicals. But yeah, so as far as when he comes back, and let's be honest, we're going to be very cautious with those guys. We're not going to put them out there too soon, better later than too fast.
And then you mentioned earlier how it's different coaching players in the '90s to today. What's the biggest difference?
How much time we got here, Tam?
2 minutes.
Coach, I don't know. I had a class in grad school back. It was at 1986 called "Coaching Today's Athlete," and it'd be really cool to go back and look at the notes and look at the curriculum back in 1986. Now I'm sure the fundamentals are the same, communication and so forth. But yeah, I just personalities are different. You've been doing this a long time. You're an old war horse. Locker rooms, are they any different? Yeah, you guys. Is the locker rooms any different today?
A little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit, huh? Okay.
All right, he's got to run.
Good. All right. Thank you.